Yes, guys, what's happening? And welcome to the live stream. Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone had a good Christmas and enjoyed themselves. First things first, make sure you smash a like on the video and please do click that subscribe button. I really appreciate all your support. And Chelsea got back to winning ways after back-to-back draws against Everton and Wolves. We returned with a 3-1 win away at Aston Villa. A game of two halves, really, with Romelu Lukaku making the big difference. And joining me to go through this and player ratings as well is Theo from the Shed End podcast. Mate, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. It was a game of two halves, really, wasn't it? I mean, first half we did struggle a little bit, didn't we? I thought Villa got in a few times behind Chaliber. The way they were getting through the midfield so easily in those kind of opening 15, 20 minutes was a little bit concerning.
Yeah, it was a really cagey first half. Like you mentioned, the Villa strikers got behind. I think it was Ings and Watkins a few times got behind Chaliber and Silva. Unfortunately for us, the two of them recovered quite well and made some important blocks that prevented the goals. And then, the Villa goal, which opened the scoreline, was a bit unfortunate. Reese James header that went into the back of his own net. And even Reese James, who's usually probably one of our best players this season, was quite poor. His delivery was, going out for play and not reaching any of the Chelsea players. So it was quite a poor first half. It was almost crying out for a number 9, which we did in the second half. And that's what changed the game in the end.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. And in terms of the lineup, what you expected, really? Any surprises there for you? I mean, I did a preview on Christmas Eve, and that's exactly what I picked. Wasn't really much different we could go with. I think it was obvious that Lukaku wasn't going to start this game.
Yeah, I think the lineup made sense given the injuries, the COVID situation. I would have maybe pushed to start Lukaku. I just would, after what we saw of Pulisic against Wolves and Everton, it's just not good enough. And he's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but that number 9 role does not suit him. So even maybe an unfit Lukaku with not a lot of minutes in the tank in the last couple of weeks, I think would have done a better job than Pulisic in that first half. But maybe it was sensible not starting him from the off, giving him 45 minutes. And I think that's what he even played more than he should have in that game tonight. So lineup made sense in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and I think like with Lukaku, Tuchel said after the game that he playing for a half was against the medical advice from the fitness team, but it was a risk that he thought it was worth taking. Obviously, it paid dividends, but yeah, it just goes to show that obviously he's being quite careful managing Lukaku's minutes, because we saw him get a half against West Ham and he was terrible. Didn't do anything. Clearly wasn't fit. So it's great to see that he looks like he's fit. Physical presence, strong runs in behind, good pace. But I mean, yeah, referring to the goal, Theo, it was kind of coming, and it just seems like Chelsea just seem to concede these weird goals. Like the Masuaku one against West Ham. This was not quite the same, but another similar one. I think it's whipped in with a lot of pace by Buendia. Obviously, it just goes straight off Reese James's head. I mean, do you think that Mendy should have done a bit better, possibly? Because he did get quite close to it.
Yeah, it kind of went between his hands. I feel I play goalkeeper myself for my five-a-side team. I played a few times 11-a-side. I know how difficult it can be when, the ball takes an unexpected turn or a touch off a player, even though you can be in the right position. Sometimes it's just so hard to adjust your hand last minute or last second. So I do have a bit of sympathy for Mendy, but, any other day, maybe he is stopping that. And as you said, it's just one of those other fluke goals you conceded, which seems to be a recurring theme this season, like the Masuaku one against West Ham. I think there's been a few others so far, maybe a couple of the Zenit ones. Any other day they're not scoring any of those goals. So very unfortunate to let them score first. And other than that, they didn't really threaten too much. I want to say maybe a few occasions where they got behind the defenders, but no clear-cut chances.
Yeah, no, there wasn't a lot. Yeah, as you say, a few blocks from likes of Silva and Chaliber, Mendy racing out to clear one, but they didn't create a lot of chances. I mean, yeah, the lead's a little bit fortuitous, but I guess they kind of deserved it. We weren't great at all in that first half. How important, though, was it that we kind of got back into it pretty quickly? And it was probably one of our best bits of play in that first half. I mean, Hudson-Odoi, who I thought had a good game, gets in behind, and Matt Cash is really rash there with the challenge, and obviously gets the penalty. And Jorginho is ice cool from the spot, as we know, and another 2 notched up today. I don't reckon there's many better penalty takers than him currently in world football. But yeah, just how important was getting into the break level, and what did you make of kind of the move that got us the penalty?
I mean, getting the equaliser before halftime was really important because it just almost resets things and allows you to get into the second half knowing that, you just need one more goal to lead the game. So that was really, really important. And yeah, like you said, probably our best kind of way we created it in that first half. I think it was Alonso to Hudson-Odoi. We looked quite dangerous on that left flank. And very rash from Matty Cash. I think he didn't even know where Hudson-Odoi was. He just dived in to get the ball, thinking he was getting the ball, but then Hudson-Odoi with his pace just nipped in front. And you're almost kind of expecting, Hudson-Odoi after to whip in a ball for, Lukaku or Pulisic. But yeah, we seem to just be getting lots of penalties. So, which is a good thing in a way, but at the same time, we need to be relying on goals other than penalties at times, creating things for ourselves. But yeah, when Jorginho takes them, even though sometimes I expect him to miss, but because he scored so many now that you just expecting him to miss. And Martinez is a good penalty shot stopper as well. So I won't lie, I was looking, I had one eye open behind the sofa, but yeah, ice cold finish in the end from Jorginho.
Yeah, man, when he got booked as well, because Martinez likes to play those mind games with the penalties, and he was booked for kicking the penalty spot, which is like obviously trying to do his thing, but it clearly didn't work. Jorginho sent him the wrong way, as you say, crucial to get into the break level. But it was also important that Tuchel made a change at half time, because what we were doing wasn't working. Christian Pulisic, who, as you touched on, is a good footballer, a very talented boy. The experiment with him at false nine needs to be finished now. He obviously was playing there as a last resort because we didn't have anyone else, or we do, but not fit to start in this game. His first half was dreadful. I mean, not entirely his fault. Could he have perhaps made a few more runs, etc.? Yes, but we're not playing to his strengths by putting balls into the box, etc. for someone who's 5'8". But yeah, I think he had no touches or one touch in the opposition box in the half, and it's just not good enough, is it? So how desperate were you for a change to come at half time? And do you think it was ultimately it was the right change? But were you surprised that it was Chaliber that came off and it was a switch, a tactical switch with Reese James dropping into that third centre back area, Pulisic to right wing back, and then obviously Lukaku up top?
The change made complete sense to bring on Lukaku, but I was a little surprised seeing Chaliber come off. I was expecting it maybe to be Hudson-Odoi or maybe Pulisic. But no, credit to Pulisic when he did move to that right wing back position. He played well, actually. He played very well. Some great link up play with Kante and Mount on that right hand side. And I was a bit not too confident because I don't think Pulisic's probably the best defensive footballer. No. Let's face it, he's not. That's not his most natural position. But at the same time, I had faith in what Tuchel was doing. Maybe he wanted to bring, he didn't want to sit back and defend. He wanted to be a bit more offensive and, attack as Aston Villa, and having Pulisic on that right-hand flank would, make us do that. And I thought he had a very good second half, and keeping him on the pitch did make sense, given that second half performance. But at half time, I was a little bamboozled by it.
Yeah, I thought that Chaliber had picked up an injury or something, but I think a lot of fans did, looking at Twitter and stuff in the game. I think fans thought he'd picked up a knock or something. But having a look through the post-match press conference, etc., there's no mention of Chaliber being subbed off for a knock. So I think it was a tactical decision. I thought Chaliber had a good first half, but as we touched on earlier, they did get in behind him a few times. Ings, Watkins, Buendia. I know he tracked back quite well to recover some of those issues, but it was clear that Tuchel was seeing that as an area that Villa were having some success in. So to drop Reese James into there, who's got a bit more pace and can kind of combat that, did sort of make sense. I also agree, Pulisic to wing back, I was a bit unsure, but as you say, he actually did okay. And then obviously the big man up top made such a big difference. It was ridiculous, really. I mean, it was almost, you could just tell straight away that it's mad how having a striker on the pitch makes a difference for us. It's such an obvious thing, and we just haven't been blessed to have Lukaku available all season. But I mean, the goal itself, Theo, was a great goal, wasn't it? The ball in from Hudson-Odoi is spot on, and Lukaku makes Mings look pretty silly, and it's a great header. I mean, what did you make of that goal and the impact that Lukaku had today?
Yeah, it was brilliant, really, really good. Exactly what we want from Lukaku. Not just the goal, but it's just his movement off the ball at times was brilliant, making those runs behind defenders. There were times, I think, where, when Mount, Hudson-Odoi, whoever, maybe Kovacic would have the ball. I just spot Lukaku making a run between defenders. The midfielder wouldn't spot his run, but it's just what you want to be seeing your number 9 doing. And the goal was brilliant. I think, typical header. We haven't really seen many kind of headed goals from our attackers this season. So it's good to, get one ticked off. And yeah, Mings is a big boy as well. So, Lukaku really bullied them to get that height on the ball and, put it past Martinez. So brilliant header. And I'm hoping as well it gives him a bit of a boost of confidence because he hasn't scored, I think, in the Premier League since Villa at home, the reverse fixture back in September. I know he's been unfortunate with injuries, but having him fit for that January period is going to be so important. So really happy for him to be back on the score sheet.
Yeah, it's just so important that, as you say, he stays fit and that we manage his minutes, don't overplay him, and he picks up another injury because we need him fit for those big games against Liverpool and City that are coming up, as you said. But moving from a positive to a slight negative, injuries again. We've seen Thiago Silva go off, arguably probably our player of the season potentially so far. Obviously our best defender, I feel. He's gone off with a hamstring problem, Thomas Tuchel said after the game. And obviously N'Golo Kante going off as well towards the end. Tuchel said he had having severe pain in that same area that he had before in his knee that kept him out for a while. Starting with Thiago Silva, Theo, how worrying is it that these injuries have been picked up to two of our most important players?
It's frustrating. It just seems to be the story of our season. Every time we pick up a bit of rhythm, we get these injuries, and it just feels like we go 2 steps forwards and we go 1 step backwards because we get these injuries. And Silva, like you said, he's been so important to us. I know I think he's 37, but he's aged so well, and the way he reads the game, senses danger. In that first half, a few times, Aston Villa were attacking, and Silva would just play it so cool, win the ball back, play that pass, to pass it back to the midfield and, keep Chelsea in possession. So having him injured is really unfortunate. We have some other quality centre-backs we can rely on, fortunately. But hamstring injury, it could be quite a lengthy period. I'm thinking, 4 or 5 weeks potentially, which is a bit frustrating. And then Kante as well, it's just that recurring injury that he's always having. And every time we seem to rush him back because we need him and he's so important. But maybe this time we just need to persist, with the players we have, let him recover, and hopefully have him back, end of January or mid-January, fit. But I just don't. It makes sense sometimes to rush him like we did for that Wolves game, because we were so, we lacked midfielder options. But now with Kovacic back, with Jorginho, maybe Loftus-Cheek when he comes back, and hopefully Sao Niguez if he picks up a bit of form, which we have seen in the last couple of weeks. Then maybe we can, make do with what we have. But it's really frustrating because I just know that, Chelsea with a full fit squad, with the depth we have, we could be pushing, higher up in the league. We'd be really challenging City, Liverpool, and, going on some amazing cup runs as well, like in the FA Cup and hopefully far into the Champions League. But it just seems to be the problem this season that's really kind of held us back.
Yeah, it's so frustrating. I mean, like for Kante, hopefully it could just be an impact injury, but the fact it's severe pain in the exact same area he had before doesn't sound promising. Obviously, we haven't got a full diagnosis. Probably won't get that until some point tomorrow. I'd say it's highly unlikely that either of those players play a part against Brighton on Wednesday night. I'd be very surprised, which is a big blow. Probably two of our most important players. I mean, the back line, when Silva doesn't play, obviously we've got capable replacements, but it doesn't quite look the same. It misses his leadership and his calmness. So hopefully that hamstring injury is not too problematic, because we've seen the likes of Kovacic be out for 8 weeks with a hamstring injury earlier in the season. We've seen Werner out with a hamstring injury. It depends how bad a hamstring injury it is, but we're looking minimum a couple of weeks at least. He's going to miss 3 or 4 games, I would have thought.
Yeah, and factor in his age as well. It's not really...
Yeah.
Might take him longer to recover.
No, it's not ideal at all. But I mean, we kind of plugged on. Obviously, 2-1 up. Mason Mount has a great chance, and that was where he's got Lukaku and Hudson-Odoi waiting. It's a tap in. Well, it's definitely a tap in for Lukaku, and he takes the wrong decision and he misses. I mean, at that point, I was thinking, oh Jesus, here we go. We're gonna let an equaliser in or something, and that could have been the game easily. In the pocket. I mean, how disappointing was it that Mount missed that? I didn't think he was that great today, unfortunately.
Yeah, he almost got a bit too confident, a bit selfish as well. He should have just lifted his head as well, or even just taken an extra touch. He's gone past the keeper at that stage. Take an extra touch, get closer to goal, or lift your head, like I said, and pass it to a Lukaku and Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a big chance missed, and it just felt like with the way the game was going, you thought if you're missing this chance now, you're going to let Villa back into it.
Yeah, I mean, we started soaking up a lot of pressure as well. We kind of started sitting back a little bit. I thought when Kante came off, Kovacic did well, but we seemed to be lacking a bit of control in the midfield when he wasn't playing. But Kovacic, as I said, did quite well. And soaking up a lot of pressure, Villa picking up quite a few corners, etc. But then we get a break right at the end. Hudson-Odoi does well. He releases Lukaku. And Lukaku's got, people don't realise, he's got quite a lot of pace for a big guy. He breaks away from the defender into the box, and Konsa brings him down. It's a stonewall penalty. Mate, are you surprised it wasn't a red card? Because I thought last man fouls were a red.
Yeah, I'm still a bit confused by what warrants a red card right now when it comes to, when you're right in front of the goal and the defender brings you back. Because I remember a couple of seasons ago they said something, you can't have a red card and a penalty or something along those lines if it's a foul.
It's a double punishment.
Yeah, but then I don't know. So at the end of the day, it was the last minute of the game, so I wasn't complaining too much. But had that been earlier in the game, I'd be a bit like, surely that's a red card. I'd be a bit more frustrated. But yeah, like you said, a brilliant run from Lukaku, and the way he controlled the ball from his own half into the Villa box was brilliant as well. So that's what we want to be seeing from our number 9. So I'm proud. I'm really proud. I'm happy.
Yeah, no, 100%. And mate, how important, before we get onto the player ratings, just how important was this win today? I mean, for me, it was absolutely massive. I mean, we're clinging on with a title challenge at the moment, just about hanging on. Drop points today, and it's definitely done. 3 draws in a row. It wasn't going to happen. I mean, how important was that win today? I thought it was massive for us.
Yeah, really important, especially given that Spurs, City, Arsenal won. They're slightly closing the gap now, especially North London clubs. Liverpool didn't play, but you just expect them to beat Leeds in their game in hand. So really important. We don't want to be trailing too far behind before the new year. And we've got Brighton next, and then we've got Liverpool. Yeah. So I think Brighton's a must-win as well. And then hopefully, just not lose to Liverpool in the new year. But really important win. We dropped too many easy points against the likes of Everton and maybe even Wolves. Given I was a bit not too annoyed by the Wolves one.
To be fair, Wolves is quite a hard place to go to anyway, and the amount of players we have missing as well. Actually, a point's not that bad at Wolves. It's just obviously on the back of that disappointing Everton draw. Yeah, it's just made worse.
Yeah, it's 100%. And give the squad we had today, all our 3 midfielders fit. Lukaku back in the squad, he got 45 minutes. I thought, we need to be winning this. And then given how the game went with all the chances, the Hudson-Odoi chance, the Mount chance, I'm like, we can't lose this now. We can't lose. So really important win. Yeah,
no, massive win. We got obviously temporarily go second. Liverpool game in hands, they're bound to go back above us. But yeah, with the big games coming up in January, we have to stay in touch. Just quickly on Villa, Georges said, do you think he thinks that missing Gerrard on the touchline had an impact on Villa's performance? I mean, I guess not having your manager on the touchline is going to impact you in some way. Do you think that made a big difference to how Villa performed today?
Yeah, I mean, obviously not having your manager on the touchline will always impact how you play, communication, halftime team talks as well. There was I think I read somewhere that he was somehow talking to someone on the touchline, which is expected, I suppose. But you're just having that direct conversation, really implementing your tactics. It's a bit of a blow. But fortunately, maybe it benefited us, so I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah, no, 100%, mate. Right, we're going to get into the player ratings now. So I'm just going to bring the screen up. Theo, starting with, obviously, Edouard Mendy in goal. Didn't have an awful lot to do today. Can't remember him making too many saves. But perhaps could have done better, as we touched on, with the own goal. He was pretty close to it. I mean, how do you feel he did today? I mean, I'd probably be looking at maybe a 6 or a 6.5. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I was literally thinking 6. I think didn't have too much to do. The goal he could have maybe prevented it. And also there was one moment, I think, where I can't remember if it was Ings or a Watkins, ball lobbed. I think it was a Douglas Luiz, if that's his name, put it forward. And you'd expect maybe Mendy to come rushing out, and he didn't. And instead he let Silva or Chaliber deal with it. And you could see Silva look at Mendy afterwards being like, come on, you need to be coming out for that. So 2 moments maybe where Mendy could have done a better job, but I think 6 is a fair.
Yeah, I think he was above average, and obviously it's a massive plus that it looks like we're going to be able to keep him for the Liverpool game as well, and then he'll be released for the Senegal squad after that match. So that's a big plus. But obviously, last couple of games with Mendy now, really, before he goes off to the Nations Cup. I agree, mate. I think a 6. Is pretty fair, considering that he didn't have an awful lot to do, and perhaps with the goal he could have done a little bit better. Moving on to Trevor Chaliber. Obviously, fully deserved his place in the lineup. He's been one of Chelsea's best performers this season. I thought he was in the half that he played. I thought he was okay. He recovered well, but Villa were getting in behind down that side with the likes of Watkins and Buendia, and obviously no surprise that it was kind of him sacrificed at half time with a tactical reshuffle. What did you make of Chaliber today?
Yeah, I think we touched upon it a bit earlier. I think his positioning at times was a bit, questionable. He recovered well. He made those blocks, but he almost invited some of the Aston Villa players to take a shot and anticipated that shot and then made the block, which is a bit, as a Chelsea fan, you're a bit scared seeing that because you want to be seeing him close him down or, make that block earlier. But I think it was quite solid. He made some big blocks. I think you're looking at maybe a 6.5 or we did concede the goal when he was on the pitch. So maybe a 6.5, I think is a fair rating, or maybe pushing out to a 7.
I thought it was okay. I mean, I'd probably go over 6.
Yeah.
Just because, obviously subbed at half time, obviously maybe tactically, but yeah, subbed at half time and also, was caught out a little bit in behind on a few occasions. I'll probably go over the 6. I thought he was above average, but it certainly wasn't one of his better performances. Moving on to Thiago Silva, obviously before he unfortunately went off through injury, he was superb. And it just seems at the moment, every time he just seems to put in like a 7.5, 8 out of 10 performance week in, week out. I thought it was really calm on the ball, made some great blocks, good defending. His passing's always spot on. What did you make of him?
Yeah, he's superb, like you said. And every time you feel like any other defender would maybe panic or do something a bit rash or clumsy, he's so calm on the ball. He senses, danger so well. I think just having that player around, players like Rudiger and Chaliber will reassure them as well and make them play, calm football, even though Rudiger can be a bit of a hothead sometimes and quite rash. So it's good to have that balance. And like you said, it's every time he plays, it's at least a 7.5 or 8 out of 10 performance. So I think it's only fair to give him maybe an 8 out of 10 because he did make some big blocks as well in that first half and clearances. So I think 8 is a fair rating in my opinion.
Yeah, we just have to hope that this injury is not too long term because he's so important and we've got some really important games coming up. I think an 8 out of 10 is fair. I thought it was really good today. Moving on to Rudiger then to round out the back three. I've got to be honest, mate, I thought this was one of his quieter games today. I mean, he didn't really, I don't think he did an awful lot. I mean, he didn't have an awful lot to do, admittedly. I think he defended well when he was called upon. We didn't really see much of his foraging runs forward that he seems to pop up with most games. Possibly been instructed not to do that as much, maybe, but we didn't see him getting forward as much. Just a fairly quiet afternoon for him.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. There really not anything noticeable that he did. I think he just got the job done. A few times he put in some challenges on the touchline. I thought that maybe, if he times these not as well, you could be looking at a yellow or maybe something a bit more than that. So I think a good Rudiger performance all round. I think quite quiet, but we only conceded 1, so you can't really fault your defense too much, I suppose, when you scored 3. I think 7 is about a fair rating for his performance.
I was thinking maybe a 6.5. He was obviously, I think he was better than Chaliber, but I'm not sure he's quite a 7. I think, probably a 6.5.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done well, but it was a really quiet game for him. Didn't really notice him on the pitch too much today, which is a little bit unusual because Rudiger's normally involved in the thick of things. Moving on to Reese James, obviously someone that's been a top performer for us this season. I thought this was his worst game in a Chelsea shirt for a very long time. He wasn't good today, unfortunately. In the first half, his delivery was really poor. Obviously, he scores the own goal. Second half, he was slightly better when he switched to that third centre-back. He was a little bit better, but not great today. I mean, I think at best he was a 5 out of 10. At best, he was average. I mean, it could even be a 4.5. I mean, do you agree, Theo? Do you think he was one of his worst games this season?
Particularly that first half, I was thinking this is not the same Reese James that we saw play against Leicester, against Juventus, back in November. He was poor. His delivery was poor. His decision making was poor, and the own goal as well. Is it avoidable? Can you do better as a defender? You do wonder as well. So I think quite an unusual Reese James performance, given that we're used to for such quality performances. But I think a 5 or even a 4.5, given that he scored an own goal, is about a fair rating.
Mate, I was going to say. I mean, I was thinking of 5, but the fact he got the OG as well, I think that knocks it down by a half mark. So a 4.5 for Reese James. Mate, this could be one of the only games this season that Alonso was probably going to get a better rating than Reese James. And I don't think we can argue with it, to be honest. Moving on to the left-hand side, Marcus Alonso. Quite a reasonably quiet game for him as well. I don't think he did too much wrong. He didn't offer an awful lot, but obviously he was partly involved in getting the penalty, setting up Hudson-Odoi on his way. Another fairly average game from Alonso. I mean, didn't do an awful lot wrong. Didn't really do an awful lot either. Defended well in parts. I'll probably give him a 5 out of 10. I just think he was average today. How did you see his performance?
Yeah, I think average, better than Reese James, that's for sure. He did lose the ball once on the halfway line, which almost resulted in quite a dangerous Villa attack. I seem to remember. What I do like having the Alonso option and the Reese James option is, forget today because Reese James' delivery was quite poor, but usually James is able to put a great ball into the box, whip it in.
Yeah.
Whereas Alonso seems to go for the kind of like low ball, that fizzes through the penalty box option, like we saw for the Leeds goal when Mount scored. And he tried it a few times today, it didn't work out, but quite quiet again, quite average. I think 5.5 is fair, or even a 5, but I think maybe a point more than James is fair. So I think 5.5.
Yeah, I'd agree with a 5.5, just ever so slightly above average. We'll start with Kante first in the midfield. Obviously, great to see him back starting again. He was fantastic when he came on against Brentford in the week. And he picked up again, really, where he left off from Brentford on Wednesday night. I thought it was really good. Defensively, he was sound, as we always expect. And he was, break play up, was making things happen in the middle of the park. Just unfortunate to pick up that injury, as we touched upon, and hopefully he's not out for too long, because that would be a massive blow. I thought he was good today. I mean, I'd probably give him a 7. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I mean, every time Kante wins the ball back, breaks up plays, we kind of almost take that for granted because we're so used to it from the Kante performance. But he does what he does, and he's the best of the best in what he does. So I think 7.5. Given maybe 7 because he got injured and had to come off a bit early, which is unfortunate. But I think not having Kante in that midfield, we automatically be, going into that game slightly weaker, in that midfield too. So I'm pleased that he started and managed to do what he did in that time he played. But like you said, really frustrating that he picked up that injury.
Yeah, I just hope he's not out for as long as he was last time, because that would be another massive blow, along with Thiago Silva, probably our 2 best players of the season so far, you could argue. Moving on to Jorginho now. I thought another good game for him. Obviously, he scores the 2 penalties, which, ultimately win us the game, you could say. I thought he was really good today again. He controls the game really well from the midfield, dictates the tempo. Yes, in the first 15 or 20 minutes, Villa got through our midfield so easily, but from then on, I thought Jorginho, it was another really good performance. He's one of our most important players, and he's really, really pushed on again this season, and showing how important he is to this side. I'd say that, if Thiago Silva's an 8, I think Jorginho probably an 8.5 today. I thought it was really, really good. Yeah,
that seems fair to me. And a lot of players, you see them when they get 2 penalties in the same game, often the keeper reads them better the second time. Whereas Jorginho is just so unpredictable with his penalties. The second one was so well placed in that bottom right corner. And I think, just for scoring those 2 penalties, easily 8.5, which may be, I think, the second highest rating that we'll have today.
And also, he's actually our top goal scorer in the league at the moment. He's got 9.
It shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening. But
no, I think all of them are penalties this season.
Yeah.
It's mad that we've had 9 penalties before, and it's not even it's virtually end of December. 9 penalties. And I think I've seen that 14 of Jorginho's 16 Premier League goals are from the spot. So he's pretty reliable from the spot. Doesn't seem to miss too many in a Chelsea shirt. But yeah, really good performance again today. And it's vital that we keep him fit as well, because he's been playing through the pain barrier for us in recent weeks. Obviously, all these injuries and the COVID stuff. So it's important that we can keep him fit as well. But yeah, a really good performance in the middle of the park again from him. Moving on to the front 3 now. We'll start with Mason Mount. I thought Mount was poor today. I've got to be honest. I don't like Mount's one of our best players, but today was not a good day for him. I don't think he offered an awful lot to the side at all. That one big chance he had, he messed it up. Other than that, I really don't think he did anything. I've got to be honest. I thought it was, along with James, I thought it was one of our worst players today. I know that does sound quite harsh, but that's just the way I saw it. How do you see it, Theo? Do you agree with me? Do you think he was a little bit better than I'm giving him credit for?
He was decent. He was relatively creative, I want to say, but that chance that he blew you can't be missing that. Especially when you've got 2 players out unmarked who could slot it in. His corners weren't the best either, I thought. Not the best delivery from his corners. If we've been critical of James, it's only fair to be quite critical of Mount today as well. So I think I'd have to agree with you. I think given that he didn't go score an own goal, I think maybe you would have to go for a 5 or 5.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be going for a 5 from Mount. I just thought it was average today. Not normally, not up to what we usually expect from him. Obviously, you can't play well every single game, but yeah, this wasn't good from Mount today, and hopefully he'll be back to his usual self before Wednesday night when we play against Brighton. But yeah, not great from Mason today. Moving on to Hudson-Odoi, obviously great to see him back in the lineup, back fit again after having COVID for the second time. I thought it was really good today. Frustrating in parts, he has a great chance where he should score, but he wins the penalty. He sets Lukaku on his way for the penalty at the end as well, and he has the assist, which is a great ball in for the header. Involved in all the goals. A really solid all-round performance from him, but then obviously sprinkled with a little bit of inconsistency as well. But I thought he was good today, and I think we've missed him when he's not been in the side recently. He offers that directness. He's quite unpredictable with some of his runs as well. I mean, I'd probably give him a 7.5 today.
Yeah, really lively performance from Hudson-Odoi. Played his part in all 3 goals, like you mentioned. Should be burying that chance, though. I just feel sometimes when he's in front of goal, like we saw against Manchester United in the opening minute, he just seems like his finishing's not the best. If he works on his finishing, we've got ourselves a really good footballer, a really, really good footballer. But yeah, I think 7.5 is a very fair rating for a good Hudson-Odoi performance.
I mean, hopefully we can see him get another run in the side like he did when he started 7 or 8 games in a row. We really saw him starting to find some consistently good form. One criticism, as you said, he's got to work on his finishing. I think he'll obviously know that. Tuchel will know that. And it's not just him in the front 3. Apart from Lukaku, I'll probably say all those players have got to improve their finishing because it's not the best at all. But yeah, a promising performance from him, considering first game back since COVID. Tuchel was saying that he obviously ideally only wanted to give him 60 minutes, but with the injuries and stuff, we couldn't take him off. So he ended up playing a full 90. So hopefully that's not going to cause too many issues. And I think based on that performance, he deserves to start against Brighton on Wednesday night for sure. Moving on to Christian Pulisic. I mean, classic cliche, but it was a game of 2 halves for him. If we were rating him on his first half performance, he'd probably get a 3 because he was just non-existent. He obviously doesn't like that false 9 role. And I think I speak for a lot of Chelsea fans. Unless it's an absolute emergency, we do not want to see Pulisic playing false 9 anymore. I'd rather have Harvey Vale playing up there and Pulisic playing on the left or right. Pulisic as a false 9 doesn't work. We're putting balls into the box for him, which doesn't work either. Second half, though, he was better in that wing-back role and he was involved a lot more in the game, as you would expect. You're going to be more involved playing that position. Got forward well. I mean, I can't really give him much more than a 5.5 really, based on his kind of on his overall performance. I think a 3 probably for that first half, but he did improve in the second half, so he probably gets an extra 2.5 onto his rating. I mean, what did you make of it?
I think that's quite harsh, if I'm honest. I thought second half...
You thought it was decent?
I thought second half he was really lively. He defended quite well from some corners a few times. His link-up play, like I mentioned earlier, with Mount and Kante was brilliant on our right-hand side. Won us some fouls occasionally. We have to remember that he played two halves in positions that aren't natural to him. Yeah. And I thought he did a decent job in that second half, obviously more than the first half, but that first half for me was, you can't really point the finger to Pulisic because that's, not the blame should be on him. But I think 5.5 is quite harsh. I was thinking more of a 6.5 or maybe pushing it into 7.
Should we go in the middle, go over 6?
Yeah, let's go in a 6. I'll accept that.
We'll meet in the middle of a 6. On to the subs. Obviously, I don't really think Kovacic or Christensen really played long enough to warrant a rating, but the big man, Romelu Lukaku, definitely warrants a rating. He was man of the match. He only played 45 minutes. I mean, this is what we signed him for, wasn't it? This is the sort of performance that we'd like to see every week. Obviously, we're not going to see it every week because you can't perform at the top level every single week, but he changed the game. He was the reason we won the game today. His impact was fantastic. Physical presence, causing all sorts of problems for the defenders. Great in the air. Showed his pace as well to win that penalty. This was the complete number 9 performance, and it's what we've been missing for so long this season.
Yeah, it almost felt like it was the same Romelu that we saw playing back in August, September. That performance at the Emirates against Villa at Stamford Bridge, and it was the all-round number 9 performance, like you said. His runs, his presence, his physicality. One thing I maybe say is like when you're playing so well, maybe you could be scoring another goal, because with that, that confidence and that energy and that run. I think, he's played 45 minutes. He hasn't played a lot of fit football recently. He's just recovered from COVID. And to make that run in the 90th minute for me was fantastic. It's literally like not a lot of Premier League strikers could do that, in my opinion, especially to bully some of those players off the ball as well. I think that was brilliant. So for me, man of the match, we gave Jorginho an 8.5.
Yeah,
I think it's only fair.
More.
Yeah, it's got to be more. So I think 9, or even, I think it could be more than a 9 if he played more than 45 minutes. But I think 9, man of the match, I think it's a fair rating.
Potentially going to give him a 9.5. I thought it was almost perfect today. I mean, he basically won us. He won us the game at the end of the day.
Did.
Like if he doesn't come on, I'm not saying we don't win that game, but our chances of winning that game are very slim, in my opinion. If we're going with what we had in the first half, then I couldn't see where we were actually scoring a goal from open play with what we had on the pitch. He made such a big difference, and it's so important now that we just keep him fit for as long as possible and get him firing. If we can get him scoring goals and playing to his strengths, just putting balls into the box. We've got players that can put a good delivery in. Callum's got a great delivery. Mount's got good delivery. Reese James, sure, Pulisic can put good balls into the box. We've got the ammunition there, and it's great with Lukaku because he's versatile. He can get it into feet. He can run channels like he did for the penalty, and he's great in the air as well. He's got all aspects of the game. It's just now getting him fully fit and making sure that we integrate him, because he's basically going to be, if we're going to win this league or go very close, it's going to depend on how many goals that he can score for us. Because if he doesn't score the goals or he doesn't stay fit, we don't win the league. I think for me, it's as simple as that. But yeah, a 9.5 rating for Lukaku, almost perfect. But yeah, no, he was fantastic today. Really great performance. So that's obviously just our player ratings there. A really promising performance from the Blues, having had 2 back-to-back draws there. There's no let up. The game's coming thick and fast. On to Brighton Wednesday night before Liverpool on the 2nd of January. So you've got Brighton on the Wednesday, then Liverpool on the Sunday. Then obviously the League Cup semi-finals come round as well. So it's all go still. Just a couple of things before we wrap up, Theo. This always gets asked, but we'll answer it anyway. Should we be doing everything in our power to bring Declan Rice to the club? For me, yes, but also we shouldn't be paying over the odds. If Declan Rice was available for, say, 75, 80 million pounds, I would say do it. But for me, I cannot see, particularly with his contract situation as well, how Declan Rice is leaving West Ham for less than 100 million pounds.
No, I'd have to agree. Yeah, and I think we've got at least another season with a midfield 3 of Jorginho, Kante, and Kovacic. And I think
Gallagher to come back
Gallagher,
as well, and
Gilmore,
and Billy Gilmore, yeah.
And we've seen that at times. Loftus-Cheek can play that position. I don't think we're going to have a season like we've had this year with the COVID cases and injuries. I can't see that repeating itself. I do think Rice is a brilliant footballer. We won me over at the Euros, but I think signing him this summer with the price tag that's been associated to him doesn't make sense. So I'd have to say no for this summer. But maybe if we revisit this time next year, it could be an option.
I mean, I think if we're going to sign a midfield player this summer, which I think we probably will, I think Tchouaméni is going to be a lot easier to do, and I'd probably say that he'd be the most likely one to come in. But if Tchouaméni does come in, someone needs to leave. I'm not saying it's going to be Jorginho, Kante, or Kovacic, but someone's got to go from that midfield because it's becoming bloated. Unless he takes Sao Niguez's place, Sao Niguez gone on loan, Tchouaméni comes in and takes that place in the squad. It's a possibility there, but yeah, we are overrunning that area. But with Rice, we've got time on our side. But what we don't want to happen is for a Man United or a Manchester City to just go and buy him. That would be a problem. But I don't think Rice is essential, but it's definitely like him in your team for sure. But yeah, obviously we move on to Brighton on Wednesday night. Guys, let us know your thoughts on the player ratings, what you thought of the match. If you agree or disagree with us, make sure you do smash a like on this video. Please do click that subscribe button. I appreciate all of your help. It takes seconds, it's free, and it helps the channel. So please do that. Theo, thanks for joining me, mate. Pleasure as always. And guys, we will catch you in the Brighton preview tomorrow or Tuesday. So stay tuned for that. Enjoy the rest of the Christmas period, and we'll catch you then. Nice one.